week, 60 minutes.
Okay.
Do we have to say that it's one time, or can we just say 60 minutes a week?
We have to note.
How often?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, the frequency of that. So.
Okay.
So for right now, we'll just put it on the IEP as one time a week for 60 minutes, and then if we need to make an amendment, then we can easily do that.
Okay.
So, is there anything else we should consider, including Mario's behavior plan?
I guess there must be at least 0 tolerance for physical and emotional harassment in the forms of bullying or casual hazing. So I think we need to draw a firm line with every student on that.
Okay, so I will put that in his consequence bank if there's any type of physical behavior that he exhibits, then that will just be an automatic in-school detention, and he will not get the opportunity to be around other students for that day. Okay, I would agree as well. So. Okay, is there anything else that we need to be sure to add on that behavior plan that will follow him through up into next year's teachers as well? So is there anything that we think would be important for the next year's teachers to incorporate or know about for Mario?
As far as relationships between students, do we need to make sure that there's group exercises, personal projects, or social games and activities?
I think that's probably a good idea, just because you had mentioned that you're implementing some brain breaks and kind of class builder activities. We want to make sure that his teachers do that in the future. So
okay.
We will put that on the behavior plan as well.
That sounds great.
Okay, perfect. Great. It seems like we're coming up with an individualized plan that will work well for Mario so far. So how would we like to address the executive functioning concern?
Well, the ability to remember necessary work materials is a skill required for, everyday functioning life, as well as when he gets older and employment. Remembering what you need so you can perform your job effectively is critical for success.
Okay, so we will create an executive functioning goal then, just to based around class materials that Mario, I would like to, I think he's capable of this, so I would like to set the bar a little high for Mario here and have his ending goal, which would be by this time next year, that he would be able to come to class prepared with his materials 100% of the time. Is that?
I think that's good. Is there anything that I can do for this goal at home?
I think maybe we can send an extra set of supplies home with you, so that Mario does not have to worry about transferring his materials between home and school and vice versa. This might help him stay more organized at school, and then he'll have the supplies to complete his homework at home.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think the homework folder, where we've got bring back and stays home, if you maybe go over that with him nightly to make sure that he has, once his homework is complete, it's in there, and then in his bag, and his bag is by the door. So in the morning you're not having to go through that hectic moment of, where is everything, and can't find it, and excuses of,
And then we avoid that point of
couldn't
frustration.
find it, my parents didn't put it in my, you know what I mean? So if we kind of start teaching him how to do that independently with some reminders, hopefully that'll get him to that independent.
Definitely, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, well, it looks like we just have one more area of concern then, which is reading comprehension. And how would we like to approach that? So as the special education teacher, in order to get Mario answering more questions, we can find a match curriculum materials to learning. We can use that. That's still a grade level program, but it's more broken down into smaller steps, and that's what we can teach him in the resource room for reading. I think it would be beneficial for him to have reading instruction in the resource room for now, just because that's a smaller group,
Okay.
and less opportunities for him to get frustrated, less distractions, and then more of a smaller student-teacher ratio, so we could be having more opportunities to target his needs. During that, there's lots of example problems in that curriculum. We show a lot of things in a visual manner. Lots of pictures and symbols are used. So it's an alternate curriculum, but it would still be pushing him towards grade level standards. So we can put on his services to receive reading instruction in the resource room with that alternate curriculum, if everybody's okay with that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? All right. So let me add the alternate curriculum to the program modifications and supports over here on the IEP. Are you suggesting that Mario receives extra reading support in the resource room then? Special education teacher? Yes, I'm suggesting that he receives reading instruction in the general education classroom as well as the resource room 4 days per week for 60 minutes each time. So with that, he would have, instead of having 2 electives, he would have 1, but we would use that extra reading time to get him bumped up closer to where he needs to be. Okay? Does that sound good to everyone?
Yeah, definitely.
That sounds good.
Okay. Okay, so, Miss English, what types of accommodations will you implement within your room so that when Mario stays in there for reading instruction, just so I can make sure to have this on the IEP so that teachers in the future can do that as well?
Expected, I'm going to refine lesson plans to reflect Mario's hands-on learning style. Specific computer programs and games may be used by Mario under the supervision of an instructor to couple images and concepts.
Okay.
Allowed extra time for testing. Teacher, I'll give him directions at a time and follow up with him on written directions. As far as the structure, I'll make sure organization should be utilized within the classroom and material books should be kept in the same area. An area within the classroom should be made for students to take water breaks and view a positive place to be, kind of like a cozy corner or time where if they need to go, and would reinforce positive behavior. Also, we spoke about incorporating those brain breaks, which would be good for not only him but the rest of the class. Just continue to review classroom rules and expectations. And resources should be available to any and all students.
Okay,
when
so that
needed.
makes not like
Yeah.
usually,
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds fantastic. Then what will the instruction look like in the resource room? So just to quickly go over that, as a special education teacher, I will just incorporate lots of examples in the instruction. Problems will be shown in a visual way using pictures and symbols, kind of like I had stated earlier. We will be using an alternate curriculum, which is kind of just a different pacing and different way of teaching, but we'll still hit the same standards. And his functional curriculum could include readings regarding, old muscle cars, sports, anything to do with construction, just making sure that the lessons are geared towards his interests, so hopefully he'll kind of take some ownership in that learning. We'll establish positive relationships through the curriculum, so that behavior instruction will sort of be embedded there. And we'll have lots of relationship building, communication, group activities to promote interpersonal relationships as well as work on the reading.
Well, how is the resource room different than the regular general ed classroom?
Just the curriculum offered is very hands-on, and Mario can work at his own pace, and it will be there's 2 other students in that group, so that'll allow us to build some of those relationships, but also it'll give a chance for one-to-one student-teacher time as well. So he'll be getting individualized assistance.
That sounds like it would be good for him.
Yeah, and if you would like to work on reading at home too, here's some things that you can do. You can train Mario on this reading program at home as well, and work on these skills that I'll just hand you here for comprehension. So tutoring will also be made available to Mario 2 evenings a week to assist with his reading comprehension skills. If that's something you'd be interested in, just because Mario often forgets skills and it's hard for him to own those over long periods of time, that tutoring might help reinforce that.
I'm also wondering too, I know a lot of times they've got the Car and Muscle magazines. That might be something to look into that would spark his interest in reading, and sometimes when you can tap into that interest, it gets them reading, and when they get reading, then we see some big results in comprehension and fluency and sight word recall.
Okay, so those are some things that we can do to sort of solidify the at home and at school things that we're working on. And we'll also, like we said before, have that communication system, so we can keep sharing ideas with each other through that.
Awesome. That gives me a lot of hope for Mario's academic future.
Great. So I know we've discussed a lot already, but I just want to make sure that the team is all on the same page. He'll be receiving 60 minutes of reading in the resource room on top of the regular 60 minutes with Miss English in the general education classroom, yes? Okay, and then counseling for 60 minutes once a week in place of one of his study halls. We're all on board with that
Yeah.
still?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then all of the modifications such as frequent brain breaks, materials in a specific location,
Seating,
preferential
yeah.
seating, those are all.
And then
So-
working on some of those social skills
The
along.
behavior intervention plan will be utilized by all of his teachers, not just reading teachers.
And the school psychologist and I will communicate on that, so we make sure that we're working on that. And then I will communicate with you as well, so we make sure that we're using some of that common language back and forth.
Okay, so then we agree that the least restrictive environment for Mario would just be mostly general education setting, except for that resource room time for that 60 minutes, because he needs a small group environment to learn effectively. Are we all on the same page?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions about the IEP then? His individualized instruction and accommodations, those make sense and are clear to everyone? Okay, perfect. Mario will just have, like we said before, he won't need to take an alternate state testing or anything like that. He'll be allowed frequent breaks and extra time on assessments. So we can mark that on his IEP. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So if we're all okay with and understand the services that Mario will now be receiving as a result to this IEP meeting, we can all sign. And Josiah, we need you to sign these parental consent forms, and then that concludes our meeting. We'll be in frequent contact, so this will kind of be a working system for everyone. All right, thanks everyone for signing, and that concludes our meeting then. Thank
Great,
you.
thanks. Thanks for coming today.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.